We are ready if you are, Jill.
Okay, great. Thanks, Nick. Peter, I'm going to forge ahead. Do I really need you to wait for your jacket on? Well, I have some housekeeping anyway. So while Peter passes out paper, just a quick housekeeping item. The Open Public Meeting Statement. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975 announcement, I wish to announce that the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure to the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the School District of the Chatham's Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the time, date, place thereof posted in the Board Administrative Offices, the clerks of the Chatham Borough, the Chatham Township, the Library of the Chathams, the Chatham Courier, the Daily Record, the Star Ledger, and the TAP. Peter, could you take attendance?
Sure thing. Ms. Ciccarelli. Ms. Clark.
Here.
Mr. D'Alessandro.
Here.
Ms. Kenny.
Here.
Ms. Ross.
Here.
Mr. Ryan.
Here.
Mr. Smith. Dr. Zhang.
Here.
And Ms. Weber.
Here.
7 present and accounted for.
Excellent. If you're able, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Donahue, that means you're not able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Monday, May 15th, we're in the home stretch now. One more month of school, and then another one in the history books. So we have a packed agenda. We have some guests here, some honored guests up in the corner. So Dr. LaSusa, I'm going to send it right over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. I have 3 items under my report, and the first 2 are presentations. So I'm going to actually ask you all to go into the audience while we queue up the presentations.
Really?
All right, and Nick is going to run up to the booth right now, but I will introduce the first presentation. It's not the one on the screen. That's number 2, and that's Dr. Walker, our principal at Chatham High School. But before we get to Dr. Walker, I want to talk about something rather extraordinary that took place in the past month. And I'll begin before we get to this just by mentioning that over the past dozen or so years since I've been coming to every board meeting, on occasion we've tried to recognize an athletic team for some type of really significant accomplishment. And at the end of the day, we've walked away from doing that because it's impossible to get all the athletes here together after they win a state championship or a group championship or anything like that. It's just logistically too difficult for us. But every once in a while, something happens that is truly unprecedented. And by unprecedented, I mean it never happened in the history of the school. My understanding is this particular achievement has never occurred in the history of Morris County. And that was the victory of 4 boys we have sitting in the back of the room at the Penn Relays a couple of weeks ago. For those of you who are not familiar with the sport of track and field or cross country or running, you probably are familiar with the Boston Marathon. Boston Marathon's the oldest marathon in the world, oldest continuously run marathon, began in 1897. This event, the Penn Relays, predates the Boston Marathon by a couple of years. And since the beginning, one of the signature events at the Penn Relays has been the 4x800. And for those of you who are not runners, that means that there are 4 athletes, each of whom run 800 meters to make up essentially 2 miles, what we would call 2 miles. So each runner is running a half mile, and you get 2 miles. I mentioned that this has never happened in the history of Chatham High School or the history of Morris County. There hasn't been a team from the United States that has won this event in the past 10 years until a couple of weeks ago in the pouring rain and the cold and the wind. And I'm going to just let the video speak for itself. We're going to watch this race together. Don't worry, because it doesn't take those 4 gentlemen back there very much time to run 2 miles. It'll go by lickety-split. And then once we do that, I'm going to invite them up on the stage to say a couple of more words. So bear with us while we play the video. I'm hoping we don't get any commercials. It is YouTube, but if we do, Nick is going to hit the button as fast as he can to skip ahead.
To have a consistent staff of athletes that really contribute to your athlete. Obviously, the anchor is going to make a difference. But some things that happened in this race, Phil, that are going to impact it. Seton Hall Prep, as we mentioned, could have been, a contender to win. They've scratched out it in favor of the 4x4. Jamaica College had the fastest time in the prelims, but they DQ'd from their race, so they will not be in this race. They were looking to go roughly 7:28 here. So that opens the door for a lot of other teams that could take the win in their place.
7:28, that is an amazing clocking by 4 high school boys over 800 meters. So the 4x8, again, I think my favorite event on the track, which is commonly run in championships. I'm an 800 guy. I know the DMR has really just gained a big following in recent years because of what they do indoors at the collegiate and high school level. But 10 teams on the oval getting set for 8 laps around the track.
Yeah, and teams to watch out for right now, I think you got to look at St. John's College of D.C., Charlotte Catholic of North Carolina, South County of Virginia, and Oakton that ran really well in the prelims here from Virginia. They all ran 7:54 to 7:55 in the prelims on the first day.
And we're underway. The Championship of America High School Boys 4x800 meter relay.
Yeah, we will continue to reiterate this point, Phil, but, you can't win a race in the first half, but you can sure lose it here. So they really got to focus in on each particular leg and make sure they're not over-attacking in the first lap.
So we'll get a good look at the field as they make their way down the back straight. There they are into the far turn. And that is Charlotte Catholic moving up on the outside of our leader. I think that is Oakton from Virginia on the inside.
Yeah, I saw Oakton's prelim yesterday, and I was really impressed by the way that they ran so confidently among all of their parties. I think they have a chance here to take this race if they run just as well as they did the other day.
All right, so midway through the first leg, it is now one of our Jamaican teams. I believe that's Kingston College moving up into the #1 spot. But right behind Charlotte Catholic.
Absolutely, one of 2 teams from Jamaica in this final. They've had a good, day so far. We'll see if we can add another one for Kingston.
Splashing their way down the back straightaway, leading Kingston College from Jamaica. They have about 5 meters on Charlotte Catholic in the #2 position, starting to grow just a little bit. Again, those soggy shoes have an effect. You try to get on your toes and really run in high gear. But Bayshore, I believe, moving up on the outside, making a pass. That is Bayshore running for the line. They will be the first team to reach the exchange zone with Oakton behind them. 157 low.
Yeah, I do still believe anything can happen in this race from leg to leg. I think things can change drastically. So, even a team like St. John's College that's, in 5th can still be there at the end of this race.
So Bayshore's official first split, 156.92. That team, Peter Bagatine, Anthony Belford, Jake Gogarty, and Dylan Began scheduled to be on anchor, but here comes the folks from Kingston College. And their leadoff runner really kind of suffered in the final 50 meters. They finished at a 159.3, but now they are back on the shoulders of Bayshore.
And I think, as an 800-meter runner, you want to try as hard as you can to be consistent from lap to lap, but sometimes, you get out to that fast and heady start, and then it kind of comes back to you in the final 200 meters.
So it is Bayshore in the lead and moving up St. Elizabeth Tech from Jamaica, and they are the new leader. We hear the horns here at Franklin Field. A common occurrence when a team from Jamaica is doing well on the oval.
Absolutely. St. John's College, though, sneaking into position here in 4th. They're now just behind Kingston. and they're kind of stacking up, the legs now. I think they are still in the hunt.
So St. Elizabeth Tech from Jamaica, Bayshore from New York, and Kingston College from the island country. And running for the line for the second exchange zone. This is the Championship of America Boys 4x800 meter relay. 355 through 1600.
5 teams still in it. From St. Elizabeth to Kingston College, Bayshore, St. John's, and Oakton.
So it is, again, St. Elizabeth Tech in the lead, and wearing the B, that is Chatham from New Jersey, making a big push from 6th to 3rd, and making a hard line shot to the rail, kind of made the team behind them put on the brakes.
It's like a new episode of a show. Every lap's something different. You're getting a little bit more intrigue, being a little bit more climatic, and now we have a new challenger of Chatham. Who knows? Maybe they finish this out, steal a win.
And Bayshore was the one that had the door slammed on them, and they'll put the same maneuver on Chatham as the 2 Jamaican teams in front. Kingston College, St. Elizabeth Tech 1-2 with about 5 meters of track to Bayshore in the number 3 position, and 3, 4, 5, and 6 only separated by a couple strides.
What do you think Anchor gets the stick here? American team facing a 10-meter difference on the Jamaican teams. What's going through your head?
I know I wouldn't immediately go to try to eat up that open track. You just got to work your way through it. And that seems to be the pretty safe advice.
For sure. We got 4 American teams chasing after the 2 top Jamaican programs. Now we'll see if they can make a dent here.
Kingston College in front. St. Elizabeth Tech, but here come the American squads.
And that's St. John's College making one final surge into the straightaway. They're going to come into the second position here. It's going to need a strong anchor.
And the anchor runners bouncing around, trying to stay warm. It's 5:55 on the clock. So it is Kingston College, and then St. John's College from DC, and St. Elizabeth Tech now leading the way out of that chase group as the top 6 teams within 30 to 35 meters.
And also Oakton's anchor runner, who I was really impressed by yesterday, is now leading himself into position here. With a little bit more than 500 to go, I think he could have an opportunity.
So leading the way, Kingston College coming up on the bell lap, and the clock reads 6:47. Kingston College, St. Elizabeth Tech 15 back, Oakton in the number 3 position. And Oakton making a push.
Oakton making that move on the outside here. I think he's got to press on the gas, though. I mean, you got to commit to a move when you make it.
And it looks like the teams in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are slowly gaining on our leaders from Kingston College.
Yeah, this could be a dramatic finish here. We'll see if Kingston can hold on. They look pretty confident at this point.
And it looks like the stride for our leader from Kingston College is shortening up, shuffling along rather than striding out. Here comes Chatham in the number 2 spot, 60 meters to the line. The high school boys 4x8.
Does he have enough room? It doesn't. I don't know if he can do it, Phil, but it's going to be fun here in the last meters.
Kingston College and Chatham at the line.
Oh, he's got it. He's got it.
I think Chatham did it.
He got it. Wow. Let's see. Photo finish. It wasn't official. This is
It is Chatham 7:47, double sixes. They win by 200.
What an incredible finish from Chatham. I mean, this is the moment you look for every meet. We need that moment to take a win at the last second, and what an impressive showing from this team.
And there it is, looking straight up the main straightaway as Chatham gets to the line. The legs gave out on the runner from Kingston College. He did everything he could, and the celebration by Chatham just kicked off, and there they are, still on the infield.
You know, that is the epitome of sports right there. The elation, the despair, the community, all at once, they're taking in that finish.
So there are the numbers from the high school boys.
Thank you, Nick. All right. So I'm going to call these guys up in the order that they ran. So Charlie Henney, he's the first one. Come on up, Charlie. Adam Pettigene. Leo Valenzuela. And Ryan Beagle. Come up with the hardware. Come on in the center, guys. And we've got two great coaches in Patrick Clark and Pat, come on up, the head coach, one of our veterans, helping these guys push. So some of you know I'm a runner, much slower runner. But there is a technical term in the business for guys who run the 800 like this and other races, and the term is beasts. That's what these guys are, beasts. So I'm gonna give the microphone to each of them, let them pass on down the line, and of course they're just gonna mention what they're planning to do next year, and if you're not planning to run because you want to retire up on top, you can do that, no pressure. And then maybe Coach Barry can say a couple of words, or Coach Clark, whoever wants to speak. But I'll start with Charlie.
My name's Charlie, and next year, I'm a senior, so I'm going to college. So next year, I'm going to be running track at Tulane in Louisiana.
Hello, my name's Adam Pettigene. I'm a sophomore, so I'm going to be playing soccer and running track next year.
My name's Leo, and I'm planning on walking on to Penn State track and field team.
And I'm Ryan Beagle, and I'm running track at Boston College next year.
I just want to say this is an extra special group. It's the second year in a row they've won a small wheel. The day before the race you just saw, they won their heat, and they won this award. And then the second day, they qualified to run the Championship of Americas. And for the first time in Morris County history, and first time in 10 years, an American team won, and it was Chatham.
Hello, I'm Coach Clark. I just want to say we are so incredibly proud of these boys. We're very proud of our whole team, which has had a really successful year. This is my second year coaching with Chatham, and what they did at Penn Relays was the most remarkable thing I've ever witnessed in track and field. Track has been a part of my life since I was in 6th grade, and that was the most incredible thing that I have ever witnessed. We are so proud of them, and we can't thank the community and our staff and parents and everyone for their endless support all the way through, whether it's a dual meet against one other school at home at Cougar, or if it's something at the level of Penn Relays. The support is through and through. The parents are always there for us. They're very supportive, and we are always very appreciative of that. It's just a great community, it's a great school, and it's a phenomenal program. So thank you so much.
So thank you all very much for being here. We tip our caps to you. Cheers to the parents, too, for getting them there. Great job, guys, and enjoy the final few weeks of school, and good luck tomorrow. Is that your next meet? When's it? Yeah, good luck tomorrow at the counties. Cheers. Great job, guys. Fabulous job. Thank you. Good job. Thank you again so much. All right, now unfortunately for Dr. Walker, he's going to have to follow that up, and he is going to join us, as he does every year, to give us a report on what our graduates are up to, the class of 2022. Hard to believe it's been a year already, but as we're in the shadow of graduating this year's seniors, including 3 of those gentlemen, Doug is going to give the annual report that he always does.
All right, thank you, Dr. LaSousa. I don't know how I follow that with a presentation of charts and graphs, but I'm going to do my best. So I have the pleasure of presenting the report of the graduates in the class of 2022. It's a report that I give each year. I really do enjoy putting this together because the data in this report really shows the dedication and the hard work of our students and our teachers, and it's a proud moment to be able to see the outcomes of our students. The presentation I'm going to share with you has a lot of data in it. It's meant to be presented, but it's also meant to be referenced, so I will have it available on the high school website. It can be a really nice resource for our underclassmen as they start to consider post-secondary options, just to get an idea on the trends and the competitive landscape just within our own school as well. Okay, so for our class of 2022, there was 328 students in the class. In that class, 95% of the students decided to attend a 4-year university after graduating. 2% chose a 2-year option, and about 3% chose other pathways. When we looked at the GPA distribution of the students from this class, you can see here how they're distributed. The largest segment of our students had a GPA in the range of 3.0 to 4.0, with 4.0 and 4.5 close behind. So when I looked at our largest segment, I took a snapshot of some of the universities that students in that GPA segment had decided to matriculate to. And you can see here in that 3.0 to 4.0 range, there's a really nice list of school options that those students were able to attend. And this is just some of them, not all of them. The one population segment that we also took a look at is our students, our special education students. So this would be students who, in the class of 2022, who graduated with an active IEP. And of that group of students, 87% of them have moved on to 4-year universities. And you can see 8% 2-year and 5% of those students to another pathway of employment or other placements. Here's an example of some of the universities that are the population of our special education student body that have moved on to 4-year schools. I have schools on this list that have multiple students that have accepted to it, but students in the special education group, these are some of the schools that they had acceptances to. Every year we take a look at where our students are attending in terms of public versus private, and consistently private has been the largest percentage of the students, and you can see this past year was at 59% chose to go to a private university and 41% public. When we look at regions of where our students are matriculating to, you can see here in our first column is the class of 2022. Saw a little bit of a dip in the East Coast this year, but an increase in the South in particular. In terms of college applications, so our school counseling department processed 3,592 total applications from that senior class. Of those over 3,000 applications, there were 1,465 acceptances. Came out to about an average of 11.1 applications per student. And on average, students saw about a 4.54 acceptance rate on their applications. Early decision and early action make up about 42% of that total applications, and you can see some of the data here. So if you remember, early decision is a binding agreement, meaning that when you apply to the school, if you're accepted, you are committing to going to that school, and you're expected to withdraw all your other applications. So of the 126 early decision applications, 50% of them were accepted. And you can see early decision 2, similar, just works off a little bit of a later timeline. It was a 43% acceptance rate. And the most popular early application process is early action, which is not binding, but it is, they do make decisions on acceptance earlier in the process, and we had 1,239 applications for that with a 59% acceptance rate. So typically these decisions are, have a November 1st deadline, which means that our school counseling department, of the 3,000 plus applications, really have to be in a position to have every student ready to go for applying by November 1st, because a majority of our students will have some type of early application. So that typically that work begins in end of August, September, October. So this slide will show bands of students and how many schools they applied to and what their percentage of acceptance was. And what you sort of see here is there's a point of diminishing returns, that when you're in the 1 to 9 number of applications, you see the best return in terms of acceptance rate, and that sort of diminishes as you increase. And the thought on this is you're probably targeting very specific schools that you've spent time visiting, that you've researched, that you kind of know you're a good fit for, and you put your efforts into schools that you meet their requirements, and you spend time investigating them, and you tend to see a better return on your investment than if you send out a large number of applications. So for the class of 2022, the most attended schools this last year, Lehigh University and Providence College and Rutgers, all had 9 students from the class that matriculated there. And you can see the remaining schools on the list below. One of the things that we took a look at is, the college rankings. There's a lot of different rankings out there. There's, they base the rankings on a number of different factors. But one reputable ranking is the U.S. News top 25 national universities. So we looked at the top 25 national universities according to U.S. News, published that for that year. And we listed the schools that were on that list that we had students that gained acceptances to, and the number of acceptances. So this is that list. This slide shows this top 10 schools that received the most applications from Chatham High School. So we list the schools, we list the number that applied, how many were accepted, how many attended, and computed an acceptance rate based on that. So an important fact of this for our underclassmen students moving forward is if these schools are popular amongst Chatham students, they're going to receive a lot of applications from Chatham. So when you're looking at these schools, recognize that you're not just competing against the other students around the country or internationally, but a large number of students from Chatham are also putting applications in there. And this year and many years, Rutgers was at the top of that list, as well as Penn State. I think notable on this list is Villanova had a large number of applications, but only an 8% acceptance rate, and that trend has actually been the case ever since Villanova won the national championship in basketball. Their competitiveness and the ranking of their business school made them become much harder to gain acceptance to for students from most high schools. The next 2 slides, this slide will show the colleges that received 30 or more applications, and the next slide after this will show colleges that received 20 to 29. Again, this is just some data for our underclassmen, just to get an idea on the schools that are seeing a large number of applications from Chatham students. On this slide, we wanted to show the students who decided to matriculate in the state of New Jersey and stay in the state of New Jersey. So these are the universities and colleges that are being represented, our students are being represented at in New Jersey. Each year in the report, I do provide sort of a synopsis on SAT and ACT scores. So the third column in each of these tables, each of these charts represents Chatham High School, and this is the the average score in evidence-based reading and writing and math and compare that to New Jersey and the global scores, as well as for the ACT composite score, with the bright blue being Chatham High School. So each year with Mrs. Slade is our college and career counselor. Her name was on the first slide. She was going to be here tonight. I convinced her to not be here tonight because she was with me all day managing assessment testing here at the high school, and she's about 7.5 months pregnant right now, and I wanted her to get off her feet, so she's not here tonight, but I'm going to speak for her. She manages our college rep visits, which this year we had 143 last year we had 143 college reps, this year, 143 college reps visit, where they sign up and students can sign up to attend these in the junior and senior class, and they get a chance to meet with the reps in our area, the regional reps, to learn more about the schools. Typically, those reps, in many cases, are the reps that are the first read on the applications as well. So this year, we're back up to in-person, about 125 of them are in person, some are still virtual. In addition, we've had some vocational programs come and present, as well as military programs, military academies, law enforcement. We continue to try to bring in career visits, and one of the things we've added to our college career site are career video profiles, so profiles of individuals in various careers from the community and connections that we have for students to learn a little bit about the careers that they're thinking about pursuing. In addition, in our counseling program, we continue to enrich this program, and it really, one of the core features of it are the conferences that we have. We start off freshman year with counselors and student meet and greets after the first half of the semester, and really start to build that relationship, and it builds from there to a junior conference where we're starting to talk about the college search process, and that's a parent, counselor, student meeting, and then our senior conference, in which we're really honing in on the application process and that final list. So we continue with these presentations, as well as on our college and career website. There's a number of webinars and video tutorials for navigating Common App and Naviance. In addition, in our site, you'll find a lot of other really powerful resources. For example, we'll have a section of our website that lists schools and universities that have specialized programs and supports for students with learning differences. We have a database of summer programs that are available for high school students. We also started CHS Alumni Ambassadors, where we have alumni of Chatham High School who are attending or had attended various universities to be able to connect with our current students. So if they can ask questions about those universities, that network's available. We do have a listing of scholarships and a really large section as well in terms of other options where it's really post-high school planning, not just college planning. So we have other pathways such as vocational, gap year, and military there. And this last slide is really just sort of a snapshot of a year in our programming, especially for our seniors. But it starts off in August, end of August, sometimes beginning of September, with our senior college planning night presentation. And it moves on to our college rep visits, which continue through September and October, while senior conferences are going on with our counselors. And we also do some special events, like we hosted a webinar about the UC college system application process, because it's very unique, University of California. We also had an event on November 1st to celebrate the deadline for submissions for early action, early decision, which was sort of a de-stress, unwind from the grind event. We've had visits from military and vocational programs. We had a Life After CHS planning night in January for our juniors, which talks about options post-high school, including college search options. And you can see some other events that are listed here that we've had. We had a panel discussion, the box to the right, with the University of Pittsburgh and Ithaca and Bucknell, where we brought in admissions reps. We did it virtually this year, and we did a panel discussion about the admissions process and trends and updates. So we continue to support students through this process and continue to grow this program. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, so the board can come up back on the stage and ask Dr. Walker any questions. they might have.
It's so good to see you back. Thank you, Dr. Walker. That was an impossible act to follow, so we apologize for that. But hey, the boys did great. That was fantastic. Thanks, Mike, for showing the race. I don't even like to run for the train in a pouring rain, and they ran that amazing race in the pouring rain the whole time. It was really phenomenal. Dr. Walker, thank you for coming out again. This is probably my 12th year seeing that report, and it has improved leaps and bounds. I still struggle with the number of applications that our students are sending out, and I ask this every time, how do we get the message out that the sweet spot is, between 1 and 9, and how do you narrow that down? In some cases, they're applying to schools they have no intention of ever attending.
Yeah.
And they're starting to compete against themselves, they're competing against their other students, they're competing, of course, nationally. 68% acceptance rate is far better than, low 50s. So I always struggle with why are they, still going for that 11 and 12 sets of applications. But, and Mrs. Slay has done a fantastic job bringing in, I know you said, 143 college reps, but what the nice thing is over the last 10 to 12 years, you're bringing in unique colleges. You're not bringing in, the ones that are just within a two-hour radius of here, which was always the case a decade ago. So it's really nice. You found some real diamonds in the rough that kids didn't even know existed, and you're really exposing them, which is fantastic. I just want to pause a moment and give other folks a chance to ask questions or make any comments. No? Michelle usually has a... Doug, what are we working on? What's next? Between you and Mrs. Slay, where are we heading? What's your next focus? What's the next mountain that you're going to tackle? I know you start in 8th grade, you start telling the kids about the classes, what they can take. I think what they don't realize, and I mention at graduation every time, is by the time they graduate Chatham, the rigor here is such that they have so many options. They have even, the kid, oh my gosh, I only have a 3.0. Well, a 3.0 here opens a lot of doors, and they realize that, later on, because they've been here, K to 12. This is all they know is this rigor. Yeah. So what do you think your next challenge is?
One of the things that we've been trying to do, and we did it the last couple years, and I did more of it this year, especially with the 8th grade coming into 9th grade, when I present in front of them, and most of the presentations that I've done, I've started to show some transcripts of students without their personal information there. And I show students who, came into high school and didn't necessarily load up on all honors courses or even necessarily have a really, really extra rigorous schedule going through high school. And I show the universities that they gained acceptance to, just to kind of show that kind of slow and steady can win the race, and that you really want to get acclimated and get your footings in and that show the outcomes. So we're trying to kind of calm that a little bit to show, right. And you can see from the list and just in the 3.0 to 4.0 range, and you can still be above that range without having to necessarily overdo yourself and overextend yourself. Sure. And so we stress a lot about how high school is more than just, taking courses and studying for tests and such, and that making room for balance and the whole experience is really what enriches you and grows you. So we're trying to work on that. And then the other thing that we continue to work on is to really just start to build awareness on careers and pathways. So many students will say, I want to go to school for engineering, I want to do this, but we want to actually give them some insight into, what that pathway looks like. So we keep, trying to source different individuals to come and talk with our students. We're trying to build a database of that to access. Right. So those are 2 areas.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
And it's nice that you've also focused some time in the last decade that even if you got accepted to this most competitive school, if you go to this one tier down, there's financial incentives, right? You're paying half the price or sometimes a complete free ride. Although you got into this school, you have almost a free ride. So I've seen a lot of the students take the financials into consideration more and more as each year passes.
Yeah, cost is definitely a factor. So like you mentioned before, we bring in 143 schools. We're trying to target universities that are comparable to the schools that our students have been applying to in large numbers, but maybe don't have as many students from Chatham applying there, offer great programs and trying to expose them to some of the nuances of those schools. So besides, bringing them in, we try to highlight them. Mrs. Slate does a great job of creating some PR materials that goes out to the students, and it's up on our screens in our counseling office. When kids are waiting to see their counselor, they're getting facts about some of these universities that maybe they haven't been so familiar with and such. So, and then we're also recognizing that college isn't necessarily the right path for every student, and we're trying to highlight also that there's a lot of other great options out there. So we're trying to make a point to prioritize it as life after high school and not just college after high school for those students where that path makes the most sense. So we're bringing in those types of programs as well.
That's fantastic. Excellent. Any other questions or comments for Dr. Walker? It's really been, oh, go ahead, Michelle.
I had a graduate in that class, and I want to say also from having my other ones come through prior, the communication with parents, I really think has really come far in terms of letting the kids do the lift, but keeping the parents informed, and the slide decks that were created and the links are extremely helpful. Even the third time doing it, re-navigating the process. So I know a lot of work goes into that, and it was definitely valuable.
Thank you. Yeah, we've come a long way with that. I can remember maybe 6 or 7 years ago, we used to do Naviance lessons in the classroom, in the PE classroom, and we work with the seniors to go through that process. And I can't tell you how many of them would have to take their cell phones out, call their parent to ask what their password is. 'Cause, they were not as engaged in the process, and we've come a long way with that now. And the students are, we're trying to make them, but guide them to kind of take the lead. And with the guidance, this is a big decision. So parents are absolutely heavily involved in this process, but we really want students to kind of lead it. And, we kind of work with them and say, every school on that list needs to be a place you're willing to go. Otherwise, it's not worth putting on your list, and really trying to be focused.
Excellent. Can you turn Susan's mic on, please?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Is the uptick in applications at all tied to the test optional SAT scores not having to, be submitted to as many schools anymore? Can you talk a little bit about that? Is it still the case that schools are not requiring it? Just a little update.
Yeah, there's a number of schools. I want to say, Kate had told me recently, it might be up to like 1,400 or so schools that have gone test optional. And so, one of the reasons you see such a large number of applications, because it's a lot easier these days to apply to schools with the Common App, right? It's one single application that can easily be sent to multiple schools with the addition of some of the supplements. So then when we saw the Common App really take hold, that's when it became a lot easier. Back in my day, you had to go to the counseling office and get an application and fill it out manually or send for them, and it was more of a process. So it is easier now. With the test optional, I think it does in a way level the playing field a bit for some students to feel like they have a shot at some of these schools. I think the test scores, from my understanding and talking to the counselors, is you have to assess how your test scores correlate to how you are as a student. For some students, sending a test score might benefit them because their test scores might be very high as comparison to where their GPA falls or that. And for some students, their test scores, if they're not great test takers, it doesn't correlate really well to the other aspects of their application. So it's kind of a case-by-case decision. Counselors are really good at helping students identify when it's appropriate to consider the test optional or not. But yes, that's, there's a few factors that made it easy. I mean, we can't discount the fact that our students don't only work with our counselors, right? Many of our students, we're finding more and more, are working with outside college counselors as well. And so, there's messaging that comes from those individuals. And so there's a lot of factors that go into the decisions on how many schools kids apply to and, where they apply to. But our counselors are definitely trying to help students really manage that appropriately.
Thanks.
Yep.
Excellent, thank you. I'm happy to see so many elementary school parents here because it's going to go by in a blink, and you're going to be like, what did Dr. Walker say about applications? Mm-hmm. You could look up the presentation. You're going to hear it 10 more times, but man, it's going to go by in a blink. I swear it is. Dr. LaSousa, back to you.
The only
Thank you,
other
Doc.
item under my report and I can note something when we get to committee reports, but for now is the calendar selection, and that's a board discussion. I don't know if you want to talk about it now or wait until under board business, but you have 3 calendars. We made it a tweak to one of them, and they are there for your perusal, and then our goal will be to adopt the calendar at the next meeting.
Okay, fantastic. And I did send these out earlier today just to remind the board. By and large, the big difference is whether we have a full week in February or just a long weekend. All 3 of them, the calendars have us ending the school year in the second week in June, either the 11th or the 13th. Do folks want to talk about this now, or do you want to push this off to board business and allow some of these folks to get to public commentary first? Which?
Let's talk about it now.
Okay. So, you know, I was always in favor of calendar 1 because I remember the teachers saying they wanted a February break just to clean out the schools, give everybody a break, get the germs out of the way. Some of the parents have requested to not have a February break, just a long weekend. But we're not getting out really any earlier by giving up that February break. It's the 11th versus the 13th, so I was kind of leaning toward calendar 1 to give us a full April break, a full February break, but still end the year on June 13th. Did anybody have any strong feelings one way or the other? What was that, Chris?
I never understood why we were off a whole week in February and March, or and April. I always liked February and not April, because April it's so nice out, and sports are in play and all of that, but all
This is
3
both.
options have April for a week, so
Right, and calendar 1 has both, February and April.
make everybody happy then. And, you know, it's not, it's, you know.
Oh, go ahead, Yinglu.
And I know this is a very divided opinion here. As a working parent, I always find February 1 week off is quite a bit to plan. But I've heard people who really are in favor of it. So I think you're going to hear 2 different opinions.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, the input from the PTO presidents and vice presidents was not only that February break can be tricky, but also that if the earlier the break, the spring break is, the better it is for getting away without conflicts with spring athletics or other spring activities.
Okay.
So the other difference in the calendars is that the third one has the week that begins on March 31st as the vacation week, which isn't quite as early. It could be the 24th. You know, you could bump it up completely in March, but the third calendar at least begins that spring break on the final day of March, which avoids some of the other conflicts that the PTO had expressed was a concern.
Okay.
Don't the winter sports also end? I mean, you're just switching one sport
The,
to another sport. It's like basketball.
Now the NJSIA has altered. This has been the first year where we've had a different winter athletic schedule. So I think that this calendar avoids the, unless you're going maybe all the way through the state championships. But I think that this largely avoids any of the winter conflicts too. Yeah. They've tried to create space in between the seasons so that the athletes that end up in the postseason don't miss tryouts in the beginning of the subsequent season.
Start first week, their first Friday in March. Now,
Mhm.
like second week.
Yes.
Dr. Zhang, can I just follow up on a question that or comment that you made? So in calendar 3 with a long weekend in February, you had mentioned that when you'd said for working parents that's difficult, and do you just mean like to fill the time for
No,
their?
I'm talking about usually a whole week is much harder to find childcare or
Okay.
really plan for a week of vacation in February. That's usually the beginning of the year, at least for, you know, a lot of people, that's the busiest time of the year. But I think 2 or 3, either, you know, to me, for that weekend is fine.
Beginning of the year starts accruals for vacation days, right? So having a break right in February.
You haven't earned it?
Could conflict with people's ability to take off.
Right, right, you haven't earned the days yet in your calendar. Okay, so it sounds like folks are leaning toward 3. Sorry, Michelle, were you?
No, I have a question, and I feel like I'm myself from, but I kind of remember when we used to look at the calendars that, is there, maybe I'm wrong, but did we alternate, like one year we would do a full week, then the next, did we ever do that?
We've done a mix.
Okay.
We never intentionally
Was
altered
it was
every
never
other
on
year,
purpose?
but
It was
some
never-
years we'd have a February break. We went for a pretty long while, I think, without any February break. Then we
No,
brought
I
it back.
agree.
It's been all
Okay,
over
so
the
it's not
place
like we
pretty much.
established
It's
a
all over
pattern.
the map.
Yeah.
I agree with Michelle. Hear me? I moved to Chatham in 2016, and I think there was a good 4-year stretch without a February break, so.
Oh, what was that?
That's bad.
Yeah, it's power.
Are we down?
Can we hear?
Partial outage.
Partial? Susan, I'm
Lights
sorry.
on.
Could you repeat what you're saying?
Yeah, so we moved here in 2016, and there was a very long stretch of no February break. And while I think it is exciting, I think we should perhaps consider doing a year on, a year off, or 2 years, just to, so the pressure's a little bit alleviated, but then there's a plan as to when it'll come back into rotation, just a thought. So
Okay.
I think what you find also is that if you don't give that full week off, at least from when I was younger till now, there's going to be kids who still take, like a lot of families will
Yeah.
still take that vacation.
What is happening?
Fair
So
point.
if you don't have that full,
What's up, Nick?
Wait,
Okay. We can forge
are we on
ahead.
a generator?
Um,
Why are we on?
My mic's working.
Oh.
It's the only one I care about, Nick.
but you're going to find kids who are families that take that whole week anyway. Do you know what I mean? When I was in middle school, I remember, this is before we had the February break consistently, I remember there wouldn't be kids that whole week leading up to that Monday off. Just because we had the one Monday off, kids would take the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and teachers are kind of left with this class of, instead of 20 kids, you're left with 12 kids, and it kind of becomes unproductive at that point. So it's just kind of a question of like, which would you rather? You know what I mean? Take the full week off or have some unproductive days, I guess.
My favorite line of the evening is when Riley said, "When I was younger." That was yesterday.
I think calendar 3, what I'm looking kind of is the best of both worlds. It gives a really, what I believe to be a long weekend, February, Monday, Tuesday off. And I'm assuming that that Monday would technically be President's Day, so that would be a bank holiday. That would give childcare relief. Friday's a nice day to have off because if you are planning any type of vacation, travel, whatever, you can get out of town on Thursday prior to, everyone and their mother traveling on Friday. So in my opinion, I think that does strike the best balance.
Okay.
I also think that early April break kind of helps to it gives you really a true April break there at a nice time, to be able to, after a long, if you're a teacher, March is a bear, and it's always nice to have that week off. So that's my preference, but I think, we have to look at them and decide.
Does everybody generally agree that they prefer calendar 3 as a nice balance?
I do, yes.
Michael? Christopher, 3? Lotta? You're good? All those in favor of calendar 3? Okay. Riley?
Yeah.
You're not, I just thought I threw it out there. Okay, Mike, so you're good with that? And it's a two-way decision, like if something comes up radically, we can always modify it. Excellent. Sure, Dr. Zhang?
Dr. Lususa, I think that we
Oh,
talked
yes, I'm sorry.
about- Yeah, you were going to survey the district about holidays they observe. Do you intend to include that in the future calendar, like post-2024, 2025?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Dr. Zhang. So we talked in policy committee and I think maybe in curriculum committee a couple of months ago about trying to get a handle for the first time really ever about what holidays our families in the district now actually observe. So my intention was whenever this calendar was approved or whenever I was going to communicate about this calendar, which is the 24-25 school year, we'd have a brief survey, like a Google form, with a number of the most prominent holidays that the state of New Jersey identifies as religious holidays or other, important cultural holidays, and then just ask our parents which ones they observe in their home so that we just have an idea.
Yeah.
And the ones specifically that come to mind that have not been reflected in any of our calendars, but Lunar New Year is an important holiday for some members of our community. Diwali is an important holiday for some members of our community. There are others, of course, but we would try to do a range of holidays that we can select from the State of New Jersey Department of Education recognized holidays, and then find out from our families which ones they are really observing in their homes. So
Okay.
I plan to do that whenever I communicate about the adoption of this calendar,
Okay,
which
that's
should be
fantastic.
tomorrow or
I
soon
think that'll be
thereafter.
good. Yeah, great information to have, going forward so we know. And we could always adjust. And thank you, Dr. Zhang, for reminding me again twice on that one. I appreciate it. Okay, is everybody good with the calendar? All right, perfect. I'm sorry, Dr. Lususo, did you have anything else?
I think that's it for
Okay,
now.
Peter, wow us with your construction update and roofs and such.
Sure, just for the construction update, we are, the planning for the summer construction projects and the typical summer maintenance projects is being done and is underway, and everything's getting planned out, so that the goal is to have everything completed before the start of school. The good news I received today from First Student, which is our transportation company, is that in collaboration with Earth Day and the Canopy Project, they had planted a tree on behalf of the school district.
Oh, very nice. Where?
They did not say, so somewhere within the scope of the Canopy Project.
Kind of burying the lead there. Is it in your yard?
Don't know.
Just checking.
That information I couldn't get for today.
You think they'd...
But I did get a nice certificate, see?
Very nice, except that doesn't tell me where. If it's in Ohio, I'm not really that concerned. Peter, quick question on the summer construction. Is there anything that would take any facilities offline, any of the fields, any of the buildings, any of the camps?
No, I mean, the only thing that gets done typically in the summer, and the basketball camps and gymnasiums work about, because each of the gyms gets resurfaced. This year, the middle school will get a full down to the bare wood, so that'll be that will start on June 20th, because the middle school PTO, we accepted the donation last week, has graciously funded the painting of the gymnasium, and that's going to be done the first week that school's completed, and then the floors will be totally redone, and then the contractor will make its way to the other 5 schools.
Okay. Upper or lower or both middle school gyms?
Just the upper gym is getting the paint job.
Okay, very good. Nice. Is that the one getting down to
Yes.
this wood? Okay. Fantastic. Any questions for Peter on any of those projects? Excellent. Riley, the floor is yours.
Starting with,
Does your mic work? Is your mic on?
I don't know, I'm on Ann's mic. Starting with athletic achievements, obviously we had the Penn relay team in here. That was awesome in itself. County champs, boys and girls golf won. Finalists, girls lacrosse played Morristown this past Saturday. Semifinalists, baseball, they played Del Barton last Saturday. Fortunately, girls lacrosse and baseball did both lose, but made good runs. And then under performing arts, we have concerts continuing. I mentioned it at the last meeting. You can find them on the district calendar, all throughout the youth, high school, all those levels. Just academics in general at the high school. AP testing just finished. They recently added the online portion of the AP test. That all went smoothly. Testing either happened in the C-Gym or smaller classrooms. Everything went perfectly fine. NJSLA for 9th and 11th graders this week, so 2-hour delay for other students. And the district art show will take place on May 22nd and 23rd from 6:30 to 8:30 at Chatham Middle School. Just got this flyer that there will be awards, hands-on art making, and refreshments. Last thing, just kind of looking towards you guys for some more communication about this, I guess. There's been word going around that they're going to try to implement phone lock boxes at the high school next year. Essentially, like you would put your phone in a box at the beginning, of the day, lock, whatever. Teachers would hold on to it. Rationally, completely understand it. It's definitely a distraction. But what was coming up with a lot of kids was, unfortunately, we live in a world where we could have a safety concern at any moment, and kids were worried about not having access to their phones to communicate with parents or anybody, guardians, any of that. So I guess just a little more information. We were being told that this is implemented for the 2023-24 school year, which obviously is coming a lot quicker than we think it is. Students were just looking for more information about like the details of that and how that would work. Would it be a class-by-class thing? Would it be a whole day thing? I don't know if you guys know anything about this or if this is like a high school administration thing either, so.
I don't know anything about it, but Mike? Mike?
You couldn't have asked this when Dr. Walker was here.
It wasn't my time yet. It wasn't my turn.
So Dr. Walker did mention this to me a couple weeks ago. I don't think the plan, so we've had some teachers who have had like little cases where students
Yeah.
drop their phones when they enter the classroom and then they pick them up when they leave. So there's no plan, I don't believe, to do that like wide scale in the main office when you enter school every day. It's more to purchase enough of those so that every teacher has the ability to do that, because we're finding, or the high school is finding, that, as you might imagine, phones can be distracting. I hear there's some new thing called AI that might cause some issues in schools. So I think there's a consensus in the high school that it would be an improvement in the classroom experience if there was more consistency with students just dropping them in to that, whatever system, and be able to pick them up when they leave the classroom, so that it wouldn't be like you can't get them till the end of the day. That's
Yeah.
my understanding.
Right, and I think that is 100% completely rational, but obviously it's high school, so things kind of get out of hand. People were saying you would have to like put your phone in a box at the beginning of the day and you wouldn't get it back till the end, and kids were like, oh my God. And I get it, like whatever, you don't need it to go on Snapchat or AI or whatever in the middle of the day. It was just that safety concern that I think kids were worried about, but
Fair
all
enough.
cleared up, so thank you.
There you go.
Ms. Hull, am I right about that, more or less? Okay, very good.
More or less, that frightens me. More or less. Leaves a wide swath of room there, Riley. Just buzzwords when you get older. More or less. Excellent. You all set, Riley?
all
Done? Okay, fantastic. Moving over to committee reports. Beth, I'm sorry, has the Personnel Committee met in the last?
Last meeting.
May 24th.
And Dr. Zhang, has Finance and Facilities met? No? No, Mike? Okay, great. How about Policy and Planning? Wow, slackers. Excellent. Okay, fantastic. A lot to follow. Very good. Does anybody have any liaison reports?
Lengthy one from CEF that I just received, so bear with me a second. They just completed their last grant cycle of the year and approved quite a few, so I'm going to read them through. There was an approval for $10,550 for leveraging laser engraving capabilities in the engineering and architectural design class. Flexible seating has been approved for $1,745. Collaborative desks for $9,486. And then lastly, they, for the art show, the upcoming art show that Riley mentioned, they were pleased to award $10,000 in a grant to the art department to provide additional panels to expand the displays. And also CF is supporting the TEDx chat youth talk again this year, and it is going to be the 5th anniversary, and it's going to be Friday, June 9th at the high school. Thanks.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you again to CEF. Those are fantastic. Is the TEDx talk going to be live streamed or no, only in person? I know it'll be recorded and posted.
I don't think we plan to stream it live.
Okay.
But there are plenty of tickets available for anyone who'd like to attend.
Okay, that's a great time, the TEDx presentations. If anybody wants to grab tickets to that. Any other?
I'll just note, Ms. Weber, that even though the Finance Committee has not met, we did have some questions arise since our last meeting when the board approved the budget and also the separate proposals that will go to the voters in November. And that prompted Mr. D'Aquila and I to have some back and forth with the county BA and our attorney. And they recommended that we approve, and it's on an addendum tonight, the interpretive statement for the proposal about security, so that the description about the permanent tax levy increase and what the funds would be dedicated to once the construction of the security vestibules is complete in the 23-24 school year, what kinds of items would be funded with the with the revenue arising should the question be approved. So that does appear on an addendum, and it's really just to tighten up, again, the interpretive statement that will be available to all residents. And The short of it really is that once the security vestibules are completed, hopefully within a year, then we would have funding to dedicate to other security measures, and we have plenty of them, as Riley kind of alluded to. That includes hardening other portions of our perimeter and exterior of our buildings, the whole surveillance system that we, have to maintain on a daily basis. The salaries that we're paying for our police officers and security personnel have grown over time. We probably need to have a discussion soon about whether we should always have one additional police officer on the bench, because we've now experienced in the last number of years multiple resignations, and they're abrupt, they're 2-week notice type of things. And when that happens, we end up being short a law enforcement officer in the schools. And right now we're in that situation. We've been in that situation on and off all this school year. So that's all just to say that if the proposal about security vestibules is approved, we would then continue to channel and direct those dollars, once the security vestibules are completed, toward other security needs that we have, so that we can keep all students and staff as safe as possible every day.
And Mike, are we spending about $500,000 right now on security personnel, just human beings, not other?
We are probably approaching that number.
Okay.
And just the history, I'll go a little further. The history was after the Sandy Hook massacre in Newtown, Connecticut, we approved 6 security personnel. They were not law enforcement officers. They were not armed, 1 in each building. A few years ago, after another incident in another place in our country, we then started moving towards police officers, class 3 officers. Their hourly wage has grown. It's a really competitive market to attract them, because so many school districts are looking for class 3 officers. And now we're at a point where we have 1 in each school, or at least we do when we're full staffed. We probably could use more than that, as I just mentioned. And our costs, of course, have risen over time, even though we brought them on board originally through a second question. But that, the total dollar figure for those folks is probably double now than it was 11 years ago or 10 years ago when we initially were bringing them on board.
And the training will become more expensive. As you bring on new folks, you're going to have more extensive training. So it'll only go up. It's never going down.
Yep.
Right? And it's a tight market, because they have to be within 3 years of retirement.
Yes.
And there's a very small pool of retired law enforcement officers that are ready for this particular type of job. Some of them do other consulting work and then, go into a more security type position. So it's a really tight pool. So supply and demand dictates that price tag is going to get higher if you want to have people in the buildings. And I think we've been pretty committed to having law enforcement in the building.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've had a couple incidents now where it's been, ideal that they have radios and they can immediately call and say where the location is. The nice thing is you can isolate an incident and the rest, 90% of the building, can be cleared. Prior to having them in the building, everybody locked down and stayed in the building, because we didn't have enough communication with the law enforcement. So having them in the building with a radio is invaluable.
Agreed.
Okay. Thank you, Mike, for that. I was going to talk about it during the finance portion, but you covered most of it. Any other committee reports? Excellent. Okay. So thank you all for your patience. I'd like to make a motion to move the public and private executive session of April 24th. I believe Lotta was the only one absent. That's correct.
I second.
Thank you. Michelle seconded. All those in favor of passing the minutes from April 24th, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Duly noted, minutes past 6:01.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So again, thank you for hanging in there. I know there's folks that want to get up to the microphone and speak. So we have our first opportunity for public commentary. Hearing of the citizens of the public commentary section of the agenda is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about which issues are or are not topics scheduled for the current meeting. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to about 3 minutes. Mr. Christopher here is going to help time. He'll give you a warning notice, and 3 minutes is a very long time. So I'm sure you can wrap it up in 3 minutes. And if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, please sign in. And again, this is not a back and forth. We'll try and answer any questions after we close the public session, but we don't want to interrupt folks during their 3 minutes. So the floor is yours if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'm Tracy Kovashevsky. I'm an art teacher at Chatham Middle School. And Candy Hull and I are here tonight on behalf of the art department. We would like to take this opportunity to formally invite the administration, Dr. L'Souza, Dr. Mary, the Board of Education, and the entire Chatham community to our 5th annual District Art Show. Like Riley mentioned, it's taking place next Monday and Tuesday on the 22nd and 23rd at the Chatham Middle School Upper Gym from 6:30 to 8:30. We've been working really hard this year to make this an event that's really a celebration of the visual art program in Chatham. By showcasing our students' talent and creativity from kindergarten through high school, we feel it's a great way to bring the entire community together to recognize our students' incredible achievements and to highlight how valuable the visual arts are in the curriculum. I'd like to take a minute to just thank the administration and the board for their continued support of our visual art program. We feel like this event truly takes a village to pull off. It's such a monumental event. So I just wanted to take a minute to thank, first of all, the Chatham Education Foundation. They've supported us from day one. They've awarded us a second grant this year for the display panels. We plan on housing the display panels at each of our schools so we can continue to use them throughout the year. But again, we're just so grateful for their support. Wanted to say a quick thank you to the maintenance staff, Sydney, Leon, Paul Kress, and all of the custodians who do a tremendous job for us with storing all of our display furniture and helping us set up, and they're really available to us to help us with whatever we need. The Chatham Middle School PE department, who graciously gives up their space for 3 days to let us have our show, so we're incredibly grateful to them. And then, you know, even Suzanne Bass and the CMS orchestra students, I think this year the high school is going to get in on it too. She organizes students to come and play music, live music during the event, just to kind of increase the ambiance. So again, we hope that you all will be able to come out and support the art show and really experience it for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. You can't read her shirt, but I'm going to tell you what I'm Candy Hull, by the way. We all purchase shirts that say some people only dream of meeting their favorite artists. I teach mine. And I think from kindergarten through 12th grade, we all agree that our kids are fantastic. And this is a way for us to showcase what incredible talent and what incredible students we have here in Chatham. The CEA applied for a grant with NJEA, so the cookies and water are all part of a grant. The AP students are going to, this is continuing, sorry. This week, the AP students are going to work on painting 3 free little libraries that will be installed by John Cataldo and his crew in a position chosen by each building principal. The 3 little libraries were constructed by master woodworker Michael Baer. They are extraordinary. When you see these, you will be blown away. The libraries will start with books procured from Read Across America grant and the CEA. The CEA continues to support our community, parents, students, and staff. The art show, on behalf of all of the art teachers, please come out on the 22nd. It is a spectacular sight. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Candace.
Hi, everybody. My name's Kara Firth. I am a Chatham Borough resident and live at 18 Broadview Terrace. I just wanted to start off. I came to the last meeting, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for hearing me out on the AM versus PM placements for the half-day kindergarten children for this upcoming year. We were able to find out, I think, almost 2 weeks ago at this point, and it's a huge relief. So thank you very much for that. With regards to coming to this next school year, I'm asking if you can please look at and possibly rework the school calendar when it comes to the scheduling of delayed openings and early dismissals. As of right now, and I believe in prior years as well, AM and PM sessions rotate who goes to school on these designated days. So one early dismissal day, only the AM children go, and the PM kids stay home, and then the next scheduled day they flip-flop. The full day kids get to go to school each and every one of these times for as long as possible. And I'm just wondering why it is that the half-day classrooms bear the brunt of the scheduling changes. These children are already in school for half the amount of time as their peers. Why make the difference even greater? Surely there must be a way to work around these abnormal shortened schedule days and share equally among the half-day and full-day kindergarten alike. So I implore you to please look into that and adjust accordingly. Lastly, when it comes to the future of our kindergarten program, i.e. anything following the 2023-2024 school year, I ask that the board vote and pass a mandate to enact free full-day kindergarten for all children in the school district of the Chathams. The essential intent of the school district of the Chathams, according to the website, is to discover and grow the gifts within each child. Again, grow within each child. The groundwork to success is laid at a young age, and the building blocks and tools children are given at 5 and 6 helps them set up for success down the line. I understand working towards full day K is something that you all have been doing tirelessly for years at this point, and I urge you to bring it to a vote. Where there is a will, there is a way, even if it is a very difficult one. But the children of our town deserve to begin their education endeavors on equal footing. And by ensuring free and full-day kindergarten for all, you will be doing that. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to continuing to work with you in order to make this happen for the youngest of our children.
Good evening. My name is Christine Cairns, and I've been working hard along with the other parents you see here tonight to make tuition-free full-day kindergarten a reality in our district. We understand this is a multifaceted problem, and we want to be fully transparent and work within the system to arrive at a solution. Our plan is a three-pronged approach focusing on who we feel are the most crucial parties. We plan on lobbying our state legislators to mandate full-day kindergarten, but petitioning the state may be futile, as over 95% of public schools have already implemented full-day kindergarten independently. And this percentage continues to grow. Why would the state use resources or political capital when only a very small minority of students in New Jersey are left in half-day programs? While we are willing to go to the state level to achieve our goals, it seems prudent to apply the bulk of our efforts at the local level. In terms of our local government, we have already begun petitioning the Borough Council to share pilot revenue with the school district. And finally, we are here tonight to continue to voice our opinions and ideas in front of you, our Board of Education, in the hopes of making this issue a top priority. It is our understanding that many of you believe a full-day kindergarten program is necessary in order to provide our youngest students with a complete education, fitting for a top district in the state and at least on par with offerings at almost every other public school in New Jersey. I'm happy we seem to agree on this issue, but we ask you to vote on full-day kindergarten to formally demonstrate your commitment so we can get down to the gritty details of making it happen. Committing to full-day kindergarten involves more than simply acknowledging that a full-day program is superior to half-day. A vote in favor of full-day kindergarten represents a commitment on the part of the Board of Education to find timely solutions to the two main issues that have prevented the implementation of a full-day program thus far: space and funding. From a space or logistics perspective, it is my understanding there are certain legal requirements needed for kindergarten classrooms. For example, a bathroom inside every classroom. Even if third grade is moved to Lafayette, will our current elementary schools have enough available space that is up to code? Will construction be necessary to transform current classrooms into kindergarten classrooms? And what are you doing now to assure that the elementary schools will be ready to accept every incoming kindergartner in 2025? We just want to avoid having a situation where it needs to be delayed even further. Next, from a financial perspective, we understand the budget is tight, but it is crucial we create a full-day kindergarten program that does not rely on tuition payments. While it may be legal to charge tuition until the time when the state mandates full-day kindergarten, I would argue that it isn't equitable to force parents of kindergartners to pay for their public education. Especially as the numbers become more and more lopsided, I fear we will be left with a small group of students in the half-day program who are not just unlucky in the lottery, but possibly disadvantaged economically, but above the threshold of free lunch. According to the demographic study conducted by consultants on your behalf in October of 2022, you're expecting approximately 95 more students to join our district from both the River Road project and from the housing project undergoing development in the township. Both of these developments have a percentage of occupants who will be living in affordable housing. If Chatham is still charging for full-day kindergarten by the time these families move in, how can you in good faith argue that there isn't a financial inequity issue brewing?
Could you wrap it up, ma'am, please?
Yes. As I already alluded to, we went to the Borough Council and pushed for pilot money to be allocated to the school district. We'll continue to do so, but we'd like to know what you're doing on your end to come up with a plan to make full-day kindergarten tuition-free. Even if full-day kindergarten is not mandated by the state, owing to the fact it will be essentially universal in the near future anyway, let's do the right thing. We're calling on you to be thoughtful, creative, and equitable when it comes to our district's youngest students. Thank you for your time and commitment to serving our school district.
Hi there. My name is Allie Steenstra, and I too am a parent here in Chatham Borough. I'm here to echo a little bit of what Christine and Kara said, and I think it's too important for us all to stand on the sidelines now. You see in front of you over 20 parents of children who are in elementary school, and we represent over 65 or so children. We are trying to work every avenue to make full-day kindergarten a reality, but we also know that you guys control most of the programming and you have the power to adjust the budget and the space to make kindergarten work. Dr. LaSousa's plan is terrific and we support it, and we will work tirelessly to help it get to fruition. But in order to do so, we ask that you vote tonight and that you are working towards, in that 25-26 school year, for there to be free full-day kindergarten, and that each family can know that their future kindergartner will have this ability to be a part of that. So that's our request.
Thanks, Allie.
Good evening, Bill Heap, Hillside Avenue, 108 to be exact. Mr. Del Sandro, I've got a lot to say, so...
Well, you better start talking.
Okay, just give me the hook.
Because
and
you're
I'll
10
come
seconds
back.
in already.
All right. First, I'd like to put on my JC hat and announce two items. The track video was a perfect segue to the Fisher-Wack run that we will be holding on Saturday, June 10th. We kick off Fisher-Wack Day, and it's a great town event. Our family fun run is at 9 at the train station, and the more serious 4K run is at 9:30. Prizes will be awarded to the first 3 male and female finishers, and the prizes will be gift certificates to various establishments in town. We hope to see lots of teachers out on the course. We need you healthy and well. And of course, we would also be thrilled to see Dr. LaSousa out there leading the school's wellness program. And in fact, we would also love to have those kids on the track team out. They can embarrass the rest of us all they want. It was really thrilling for them. A big beneficiary of the race is the ECLC school. They are a great asset to the community, and they provide the best in education to special needs kids. Everyone needs to visit that school and see firsthand what they do. And if you don't leave the place after seeing how hard the kids try, if you don't leave the place with a broken heart, you're not alive. Next item, we have our Distinguished Awards Dinner for the JCs on Thursday evening, June 8th at 7 p.m. at the Chatham Borough Fire Department at Firehouse Plaza. We are helping them to celebrate their 125th anniversary. They will pull the trucks out onto the apron, and if the weather is nice, we will have an indoor-outdoor event. We will be honoring former Township Mayor Kevin Sullivan for, among other things, his work on open space. He led the way on the Giralda Farms deal, and if anybody thinks we have a development problem now, well, it could have been worse. I've known Kevin for a long time. He's a U.S. Marine, former council member, planning board member, and has done a lot for the town. It is fair to say that he's put in more than he's taken out. In addition, we will be awarding grants of close to $45,000, including $10,000 scholarships for graduating high school seniors. Grants will be awarded to a variety of groups, including the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, fire departments, the emergency squad, and a host of others. As always, this dinner is the highlight of the Chatham social season, a place to see and be seen, a chance to rub elbows with elected officials and other assorted celebrities. Chicken fingers and beer are on the menu, and the public is invited. Please come by and see what goes on in the rest of town. I think you will be pleasantly surprised. Okay. One last thing. I would like to echo what Ms. Weber said and what Mr. Walker said about college applications. I have been an alumni interviewer for close to 40 years. I just recently resigned, and I have read for the past 30 years 35 or so scholarship applications a year. The scholarship applications are blind. We don't know who the kids are, but some of them, or a great number of them, have applied to over 20 colleges. I think the record this year was 27. I can tell you from on-the-ground experience that more often than not, that those applications end up on the cutting room floor pretty quickly. As far as an alumni interviewer is concerned, I saw the best kids in this neighborhood, and it's very difficult to square the fact that you are whispering in my ear and telling me you love me while you are applying to 20 different colleges. So I think a word to the wise should be sufficient on that, and I'll be back in the second half. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. Any other public comments? No? Okay, great. We'll close the public commentary session. I will say that it worries me when Bill says he agrees with something I say. I start to get a little nervous. Thank you to the art teachers that came out tonight. I know you're on your 13th hour. Don't be shy. If you need to sneak out, sneak out. I know you've been on your feet all day, but thank you. The art show is phenomenal. If you've never been to it, pop in for 5 minutes. You'll not be able to stay for 5 minutes because it is that good. You start on the right-hand side, pre-K, kindergarten, and you work your way all the way over to these phenomenal art pieces that'll bring tears to your eyes with the AP students and the whole journey throughout. It's really quite amazing. So if you get a chance, pop in with your kids. It's a ton of fun. On to the full-day kindergarten folks. So I think I'm just going to try and lump them all together. There's actually no need for a vote because we've already decided that we're implementing full-day kindergarten. That's happening. That's why we're going through the painful effort of moving the third grade out, disrupting our second graders, putting 4 grades into the middle school and having the middle school rework their master schedule. And that's why we needed an extra year to do it. There's no question that we believe this is the right thing to do. We believe this is the right thing to do even though the referendum failed in 2018. We believe this is the right thing to do even though residents have said no to second questions. We believe that strongly that this is the right thing to do. Now, how do we get there? We thought it was a 10-year program, a 10-year launch. We're probably getting there in 7. Whoopee for us. The real trouble, though, is the free part. Obviously, that's optimal, but if we have to come up with $500,000, where does it come from? Do we cut all athletics? Okay, that's a choice. You say we have the power. Well, the power means we have to cut somewhere. We have a limited number of resources that we can spend. And if we add something, we have to take something out. So the free part is going to be quite difficult. Is it going to be the same tuition? Maybe not. I mean, and Michelle and Lotta have been in my ear saying, we absolutely have to do it free. Well, that's great. I have the finance folks saying, how the hell are you going to pay for it? So, we're working toward that. Full-day kindergarten is coming in, 25, 26. The free part is going to have to be worked on. Again, If we can get extra pilot money, great. If we can come up with some other revenue source. You say mandated from the state. We cannot take another unfunded mandate. They can mandate it, but that means we're going to cut X number of teachers or this particular program. So if they mandate it, that's fine. If we have to come up with, and I'm looking at Mr. Ryan, $300,000, $400,000, it's likely going to come from staff in a program because, as you all know, there's no way to come up with $500,000 unless you impact headcount. Even if we cut all athletics out, it's still not going to pay for it. So that's the challenging part. I just wanted to touch on a couple other things that you did mention. Sorry, I'm just looking over my notes. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Kara, you said, I just was making a note here, you said it's a difficult decision. It's not at all. We all believe, everybody at this table believes full-day kindergarten is an absolute must. It's just how do we get there? That's why we built the classrooms at Milton. That's why somebody said you have the space. We know we have the space. That's why we put additional classrooms at Milton where we had more space. We were going to try and do some at Southern. It was cost prohibitive, so we pivoted. So we've been literally working on this for the last 7 years, and with or without necessarily support of the residents, we still believe that this is the right thing to do. And, elections be damned, we're forging ahead. Full day, absolutely. The tuition part is the difficult, where we're going to struggle over the next couple of years. Mr. Ryan, you've been working on this on the finance side for a while. Did you want to add anything?
No, I just wanted to say that I'm glad the parents are involved in this from the ground up, right? That's how things happen. So I would say that lobbying the state is not, it shouldn't be out of the question. You may think it's futile, but you can lobby the state to help pay for it, right? There's a lot of unfunded mandates out there that we have. IDEA is another one that Congress has not funded, and that takes up tremendous amount of resources of the school district. So I think we are in support of all-day kindergarten. We just have to figure out if we can pay for it.
And it's invaluable that you're sitting here, because to hear, I'm going to pick on Mr. Heap because he's a friend of mine, to hear from Mr. Heap week after week after week, that takes over the room, right? There's no other voice to be heard. All we're hearing is Mr. Heap says, no, charge as much tuition as you can. Kent Place gets 70 grand, charge 70 grand. So I like to pick on Bill, we're friends, so I'm going to keep picking on him. So it is invaluable that you're here so that people hear another voice in the room. It's not just one, the folks that, us old folks that don't have kids in the district anymore. I'm one of those people that don't have kids in the district anymore, but there's several of us at the table. We absolutely are committed to offering full-day kindergarten. I wish I could say it was going to be free, and I know I hear Michelle yelling at me even as I speak that, but we will do our best. Michelle, I don't know if you want, I know you feel strongly about that. I just don't know how to make the numbers work just yet.
I do feel strongly about that because I think we are a public school district,
I
and you know
agree.
how I feel. But I also wanted to say that when my children were in preschool and my oldest was in kindergarten, I went to Trenton 3 times that year. And I went because our schools were underfunded at the time with the amount of state aid that we were receiving. It was not a fair formula. We were not getting the state aid that we were entitled to fund our schools. I felt passionate enough at the time, only having one child at the time in first grade. My other ones were in preschool. And it took time and it took a lot of effort. And it did move the needle a little bit. And a little bit and a little bit over time becomes more and more. So I also want to say, I think it was great that you did come to our last meeting because oftentimes we get emails and we try to respond to them, or Mike and our team responds to them, but we are here to help. We want to listen. And I think you saw firsthand, we will problem solve with you. Please come. And we want to hear from you. We want to work, we want to paddle in the same direction. So I think we did hear you, and we were able to move that date up for AM, PM. I know it's not ideal, but we're going to work together to make it better. And I think we're all committed to that.
Susan, if you don't mind if I put something, a brick in your bag, could you take a look at on the curriculum committee, the delayed openings that Kara mentioned, the delayed versus early dismissal and how it impacts the AM and PM, and just make sure there's equity? I mean, we don't have extra space to just, have kids around, but if you could just dive into that a little bit and maybe report back, or at least kick it around the curriculum committee. That was the item I circled. Sorry, Kara. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll report back at the next meeting on that one.
That's great, thank you. Dr. LaSousa, did you have anything else you wanted to add on this or any other topic? Oh, I'm sorry, and Mr.
Sure.
Heap, thank you for your, sorry, one more. I just wanted to touch on Mr. Heap. Thank you for all the comments about the things going on in town. I tease Mr. Heap a lot, but he is also another individual that gives back to the community far more than he takes. So as much as I tease him, I'd like to acknowledge that as well. Bill, I agree, there's a diminishing returns on this college application. I think what students don't realize is when they see 27, they toss those applications right away. In fairness, what Mr. Walker was very polite in saying, though, is that a lot of parents hire outside consultants, and they get paid by the application. They get paid to submit twice as many as maybe is needed. So maybe that's the paradigm that has to change. You know, maybe count on the resources that are in the school already. We have a phenomenal counseling department. I mean, parents will certainly choose to do whatever they want with their money, but that drives up a lot of the applications. As soon as we saw a lot more private businesses right here in town, the number of applications, it used to be, you know, the number was 6, 7, 8, 9. Now it's double and triple that. So thank you for your comment, because I know you were, you've done that for so long for your college, so thank you. I'm sorry, Dr. LaSousa, you want to comment on full-day kindergarten?
First off, the space is available if we move third grade out of the 3 elementary schools. And there's not any question about that. The space in an elementary school is fairly easy to figure out because you need roughly 1 classroom per 20 kids. If you have 100 kids in a grade level, you need 5 classrooms. If you're willing to go to 25 in a classroom, and we have had 25 in a classroom in my time at both Washington and at Southern in grade second, you know, in first, second, third grade, when we had no space at all in the building and couldn't do anything with the students. But we've not had 25 in a section in quite some time now. So if we assume the 20, though, it's pretty straightforward how many classrooms you need. And with kindergarten, historically, until we initiated the full-day program, you needed half as many, because you used, if you needed 5 classrooms for 100 kids in first grade, for the 100 kids in kindergarten, you need 2.5 classrooms, which means you're using 2 classrooms all day long, and then the other one either in the AM or the PM. And then you fill out that room typically with other programs like Resource Center or ESL or BSI or what have you. You do not need to have a bathroom in a pre-K or a kindergarten classroom. You're required to have either a bathroom or a plan to enable students to use the restroom with supervision and so forth. We, I think, have 1 classroom right now at Milton, I want to say, Emily would know better than I would, in pre-K that does not have a restroom. At least if we don't have one right now, we have had in multiple buildings times when we've had to use a classroom that did not have a restroom. And we just have to enact a plan. I think we submit it to the county along with our dual-use spaces each summer, and they have to sign off on it. We may make some, we may retrofit. So like if we had to use a couple of classrooms that right now have never been used for kindergarten before, we might, in that hallway, wherever the classroom is, want to purchase a toilet that's smaller than what is being used by second and third graders. But we can manage, with the types of classrooms we have if we relocate an entire grade level of kids. We essentially would be relocating a full grade level and replacing it with half a grade level. And in fact, now it would be even less than that because of how many sections we're trying to get up off the ground in full day. So there's no question that if the board is committed, and we are all committed, and we're continuing to talk about it, we've been having interviews with the next middle school principal all day today and tomorrow. One of the questions and some of the follow-up questions are all about 5th grade is coming to the middle school. How do you prepare for that? What is your thinking in terms of opportunities and so forth? So the space will not be an issue once we can figure out other logistics like transportation. On the delayed openings, early dismissals, so when it's inclement weather and it's unannounced, we operate only 1 session. We try to make a distinction between unannounced and announced. Typically on an announced pre-planned early dismissal, we do run both AM and PM. I can talk with the elementary principals further about trying to see if we can squeeze that in the same way with the early dismissal, delayed openings. But there are a number of other issues. It's not that simple. Teachers have contractual prep time that they need. They need to be able to eat lunch. There are a whole host of issues other than just simply the classroom space between, let's just say, like, 10 and 12 and 12 and 2. There's more involved there. So we can continue to look at that. We do convert back and forth when we have unannounced inclement weather days, and we do convert back and forth if we know we can only run one session, but we try to run 2 sessions when we can.
Right. Okay, but you'll look into it, and I mean, if we move the needle this much this year and that much next year, and, progress, not perfection. From your own tech talk. Excellent. And the other point I circled, I don't know if it was Christine that said it or if it was Ally. Somebody mentioned 95 kids coming from the development. If 95 kids come in, that's fine, as long as 95 all aren't in the same grade, right? Absorbing 95 kids in the district, we think we can do that pretty well. If, one year we had an influx of second graders, I don't know where they all came from, but that tipped the scale. So, the 95 number doesn't scare us. It's just where they're going to be. We'll see how that plays out. You have no idea. I have no idea who's going to buy my house, who's going to buy Michelle's house, so we can't really control that. But I wouldn't be too concerned about 95 kids coming in, because again, if they're dispersed in 13 grades, we can absorb that, no problem. Did anybody else have any comments on anything anybody said? We do appreciate you coming out. We appreciate you talking to the Borough Council. Okay, so we're going to move on to the regular agenda. We have a second. Sorry. We're not going to take it. You have to wait for the second section. It'll be in like 10 minutes, so hang on. Sorry, this is that whole Robert's Rules thing that I never grasped 12 years later. So we're going to move on to the regular agenda. There is a second opportunity for public comments. Just bear with us about 5 minutes. Who is going to move? I'm going to move I can't move personnel. I'm not on personnel. Thanks, Riley, for laughing at that.
I'm on personnel.
Oh, would you mind, Michelle?
Yeah. I'd like to move personnel items 1 through, sorry, I was not prepared for this, 1 through 20 on the regular agenda, and on the addendum, A1 to 10, 14, and 21. Did I get them all? Right? Oh, wait, 1, okay, wait a minute. 1, 5, 10, 14, and 21. Okay, on the agenda. Is that right, Beth? Okay.
Excellent. And Susan seconded. I don't know if you heard.
Oh, I thought Chris did.
Oh, okay.
Chris
maybe, sorry,
seconded,
Chris.
yeah.
A double second. Sorry. Any comments on any of the personnel items? Any questions? No. Peter, would you mind?
Sure. Agenda items A1 through 20 and the addendum items of items 1, 5, 10, 14, 21. Ms. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Del Sandro?
Yes.
Ms. Kenny?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Dr. Zhang?
Yes.
And Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Agenda items pass 7-0.
Excellent. Yinglu, would you mind doing finance and facilities? Are you doing it, or is Mike doing it? I'm sorry.
I thought I'm doing policy. Are you doing?
Yeah, I'll do policy. You can do
Oh.
finance.
So under finance and facilities, I'd like to move agenda items B1 to B18, and also on the addendum B19.
Excellent. Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Zhang. And again, the addendum is the item that Dr. LaSousa spoke about earlier about the interpretive statement, just to lend clarity for the second question or the proposal for November.
The only audible I need to make is on agenda item B11, which is the donation from the CEF. There is the mathematics teaching through technology is being pulled. That has to be clarified. There's additional items that Mr. Yamamoto may need for the math, so that's being revisited. It will either get approved in June or in the next school year. So that brings that total to $21,928.79.
Okay, very good. Thank you. What's that? Yes, it was seconded. It is. Oh, go ahead, Peter.
Okay, agenda items B1 to 18, addendum item number 19, and the adjustment as noted to B11. Ms. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Del Sandro?
Yes.
Ms. Kenny?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Dr. Zhang?
Yes.
And Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Agenda items passed 7-0.
Excellent. Susan, would you mind taking us home with curriculum?
Sure, I'd like to move curriculum agenda items C1 to C3 on the regular agenda.
Excellent. Second, any questions on the item 3? Can't ask any on the first 2. All those in favor of C1 and C3?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? There you go, Peter.
Duly noted, agenda items C1 to C3 passed 7-0.
Okay, Mr. Ryan, all you.
I'd like to move agenda item D1 on the regular agenda for a vote. It's the org chart.
Oh, yeah. Okay, great. Second, I don't know if anybody seconded.
Ms. Ross?
Oh, great, thank you, Susan. All those in favor of items, policy items D1?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
D1 passes 7-0.
Excellent. Board business, we covered the calendars already. Does anybody else have any new or old items they want to bring up? No, we're good? Okay, we have our second opportunity for public commentary. Very good. If you wouldn't mind, again, just introducing yourself, and if you could sign in, that would be swell.
Hi, my name's Amanda Farina. My daughter was lucky enough to get the lottery for the additional classroom that you opened up in Washington Avenue School. And I will say, I did not get in at first. I cried. Literally, I called the school and my emotions took over. To know that your child is not going to get the same opportunities that other kids will have to develop emotionally and educationally is heartbreaking. Obviously, we all know that. We're on the same page. I just urge you to commit to 2025. Whether the finances are not perfect, we have the space. This year, the parents are paying $7,000. It is the best money I've ever spent. I would pay it again in a heartbeat for 2025. Is that ideal? No. But to not have every child be able to be there full day, I think we all agree is just not acceptable for 2025. And I heard that you opened up additional classrooms for next year, and I think that's amazing. My daughter has Miss Verducci this year. She is reading and excelling. And the basis that they learn in kindergarten to read is just mind-blowing. And what happens when you don't get into full day is you have to do the work family, and that's great that that opportunity is there. But the amount of time they lose from getting their stuff together, putting their backpacks on, getting their coats, getting on the bus, driving over there, getting off the bus, unloading their things. I mean, if you want, I'll ride the bus, and I bet it's at least, can't be a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour? And in that time, the kids at full day are art. You're talking about the art and how amazing it is. Well, guess what? Those kids in half day, they don't get to have art. They don't get to go to the library. I volunteered in the library 3 times. I'm not the best at the Dewey Decimal, but like to see what they learn and the opportunities is just amazing. My daughter has had such a great time in gym. She actually goes to the enrichment program that they offer at Washington, which maybe next time we could talk about, but she loves Mr. A's class. I mean, it's really what you guys do at the elementary schools is hands down amazing. And I do have a younger daughter, which will be going into kindergarten for 2025. And I was just so proud to hear that you guys were bringing full day kindergarten to everyone. And then through the grapevine, I heard that's not what's happening. And that, again, to go back and say, okay, I'm going to be the crier. I'm actually known as the crier, by the way, at Southern Boulevard. I literally cried. To take that away is just, it's heartbreaking. So I really urge you to make it happen. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just please do it. Thank you.
I don't want to be that guy.
Hi, I'm Alex Garvey-Friel, also a borough resident. I have 4 children. And I just wanted to circle back on the financial piece, because I agree, and it's wonderful to hear that, you know, those that we trust to educate our children are on the same page with us in wanting and demanding full day. However, I think as we have heard about a financial discussion and whether or not parents should pay, I'm just curious, being naive, my 2 boys are out front, so they're in kindergarten now, whether or not there will be plans put forward that parents can hear about, whether that's through the PTO or through this forum, that will give us an idea of some suggestions of where the financing may or may not come from, whether that's subsidized for parents. As I mentioned, I have twin boys, so sending them to full day through the Chatham district would have cost me $14,000. I actually pay significantly less sending them to private school in Summit. I know Mr. Heap is huge on financing and where we can get that, especially from parents, but I'll say I'm driving Summit's economy. Instead of getting bagels here in Chatham or at Arminio's, I'm getting Mr. Cheese, hot dogs in Summit, and the bagel shop there. So there is, for sure, I think, rationale from a community perspective for how we can drive the economy here, irregardless. So I'd love to understand what that path looks like. So again, subsidized to be more competitive with private schools and not higher in pricing. Discussion about students who really need full day. Another anecdote that I would put forward is my boys both did the CHIP program, which is again also a phenomenal program that you guys run. One of my children needed to be pulled out for services during the day, and so a lot of discussion was had as he was looking to move into kindergarten around full day versus half day for him, knowing he would spend a significant chunk of the day pulled out for physical therapy, et cetera. It is very church and state, which was very unfortunate for him because since he didn't get full day lottery, the half day program wasn't going to be a sufficient education. So that was the other reason we decided to send them private. So I would love to hear about subsidized programming, pricing if parents have to pay. I'd love to hear about discussion on those children that truly need a full day, maybe not having it church and state. I can kind of talk out of both sides. I have one child that didn't need services and one did. They're both twins. I still would have loved for one of my children to have been able to go who really needed it and maybe held the other one in a half-day program who maybe didn't need it. So discussion on that I'd love to hear, and any other creative solutions. I know we talked a little bit about security and the $500,000 that goes towards salaries. I know the moms here tonight have also talked with the borough and the township about the community supporting us in having that chunk of money come out of the township and boroughs funding versus out of our educational funding, because security for children and staff and frankly parents and siblings of those children is a community problem and not necessarily an educational problem. So creative solutions, could we take that money and get that funded from elsewhere and then use that money for full day kinder? So I'm just curious about the pathway and what next steps would be and where that discussion can be had, because as you've heard tonight, we have very passionate men and women on the subject. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm back. Sorry. It's Allie Steenstra again. Just really quick on the financing portion. Obviously, in discussing with legislators, figuring out if there could be funding brought to the town is huge, and that's something that we're trying to do. But there's a few things that we didn't really touch on, which is just that the consistent message has been that we do have 12 years, it looks like, of a declining student body. And with a declining student body, theoretically, we would be having more money per pupil then. And so theoretically, there would be more money in the budget that could go towards this. So I think that's one thing that I'm interested to know what the thought on that is. Another one is Governor Murphy's new budget just gave the $487,000 in additional aid to the town for the school to try to bring us closer to where we should be, which is terrific, but that's also a little bit of found money, and I'm sure that there's a million things that you need to put it towards. But again, I think we're going back to that this really ought to be a necessity. Like this to me doesn't seem like a question. So wondering too if that can be helpful. And the other thing is talking about that the voters have voted it down. Yeah, I don't think it's ever been, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think it's ever been a line item. It's never been just like we're about to see a line item for paraprofessionals insurance. There's never been a line item that said, would you increase your taxes by X to pay for full-day kindergarten? And if I'm wrong, I'd be interested to know that, because I can't imagine something more important than putting that on a ballot. And I think that maybe 10 years ago, the last time it might not have had as much support, but in a world where pre-K is about to be funded by our state government, the idea that a child could go to a full-day pre-K program that is 100% paid for by the state and then come to kindergarten and have to pay to go seems insane. I mean, I can't imagine that. So I just think that there's some questions that we would like to understand generally moving forward, and not tonight, but just moving forward. I think would be ways we could maybe optimize the money that should be there in the future. Thank you.
Hi, guys. Kara Firth again. I just wanted to say thank you. It's really nice to hear everybody say outright that we're committed to 2025. I know it's been said and put in print, but in a little bit more wishy-washy terms. So it's nice to hear that out, and that's a priority for everybody. I think, obviously, I share a lot of the same concerns that the other women who spoke before me did. Just if we have the space, but we don't necessarily have the money thing figured out, I don't know how that really changes for 2025. I'm sure you probably still have to have a free component somewhere, and you can't charge everyone. I don't think that's legal, but I could be wrong. And I just also want to say, I would love to continue to, I don't know if it's best, we're obviously committed to keeping on top of this cause, as are these other women in front of us and countless other people who are at home and unable to make it today. I don't know if this is something that you guys have ever done before, or if anybody would be willing to meet with us, but I don't know, maybe we have like an exploratory committee to try to come up, problem solve some of this stuff beyond just these meetings. I know Dr. LaSousa has been able to make some time for us, and we've been able to speak with Ms. Clark and Ms. Weber, and I really appreciate your time, and we're committed. We want to work with you guys in order to make this happen, because we feel strongly about it. Even if my fourth kid makes it through and somehow it still hasn't happened, I will be here to still fight this cause, because I truly believe in it. So open to any suggestions in any way that we can move in any avenues forward with you guys. Please, please, let me know, because I'd love to help. That's all.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay, hello again. I'll take up where I left off. There was mention of a TED Talk. I have to say that last year's TED Talk was probably one of the best things I've ever seen at the school district. Certainly last year. Sleeping Beauty was this year, so I really can't compare.
Beauty and the Beast.
But the TED Talk last year was the best, and I will be in attendance for the next one. Okay. With regard to the two second questions, I was under the mistaken impression that these questions were for specific projects, specific dollar amounts. I was clearly wrong on that. These questions are going to be an ongoing part of the budget, and I think it's important that you let everybody know that. I know there will be an interpretive statement with regard to these questions, but please make sure that every time you talk about this, people are aware of the fact that this will add to the budget on a continuing basis. Dr. LaSousa partially answered one of my next questions about making sure that should these questions be voted up, that the funds be used for their intended purposes on an ongoing basis. Institutional memory fades fast, money is fungible. Somewhere down the line, people might forget. I don't know how you put that, how you codify that so that going forward, the money that was voted on plus the compounding effect of that money gets used for the stated purposes. And I think it's important that we hear a little more on that. Okay, finally, as far as full-day kindergarten goes, I know I'm the villain. I want to make it clear I've never, ever been against full-day kindergarten. It's always about who's going to pay for it. Always depends on whose model of socialization you believe in. Do these costs get spread out throughout the entire community, or do those who directly benefit from the service, should they pay? And certainly they should pay at a high enough level to take care of our less well-off neighbors who might not be able to afford it. This is the way college works. It's the way a lot of other things work. So I know I've been criticized for telling you to grab people by the ankles and turn them upside down and shake them. I guess that all comes down to the fact that I don't want to be the one whose ankles are grabbed and turned upside down. But that's for you to decide, I guess, to find out how you're going to pay for this. And I see Mr. Del Sandro giving me the hook. Thanks and good evening.
Thanks, Bill. Great. No other comments? Okay, we're going to close the public session, which means everybody's done. And I'm going to try and answer the questions. And Amanda, AKA Cryer. There you are. Very good. Thank you. So we are committed. I mean, there's no doubt. We're solidly committed. We're going to deliver it. You're a little bit too young and you don't realize it, but we've been opening up classrooms year after year, even after it was failed. We did ask questions. They were failed. I have these beautiful charts and graphs from 2016. I don't know why I saved the failing ones, but I do. Maybe to remind me where we're at and where we're going. So we're committed. There's no doubt about it. We understand that it's critical to the learning. We understand. We started with 2 sections, then we added 4, and each year, again, progress. We show progress each year, and we are not going to, make perfection be the enemy of good. We're going to keep moving forward. 2025, nobody's wavering. I don't know what grapevine you're talking to, but the 9 of us are not wavering. So we're opening up the classrooms. Alex and Ali and even Kara mentioned on financials. That's the easiest question in the world to answer. How does the financials work? No problem. Like in any other business, we have to decrease expenses and increase revenue. How do you do that? You look for additional revenue sources. You work with, state insurance policies. I mean, every year, I don't sit on finance. I'm looking at Mr. Ryan. Every year, it's this, puzzle that we try and put together. Where can we save $1 here that we can add $1 there? Dr. LaSousa, over the last 5 years, and in particular this year, has cut tremendously on administrative costs. That's how we're going to get from here to there. Declining enrollment helps to a point, and we can repurpose some of those funding. So there's no one silver bullet, right? It's a combination of better health care, cheaper prices, increasing revenue, looking for additional funds from the pilot. And I don't mean to put any of this all on the backs of the municipalities, but that's one piece to the puzzle. So again, simple equation, we have to find more money and we have to cut our expenses. And that will look different every single year. 1 year our health insurance goes up 12%. Oh my God, how are we going to pay for that? Another year it might go only up 8%, but we budgeted for 10. Great. in between, we have that money to put toward other programs. I think full-day kindergarten, for this board in particular, we have 3 top priorities: school safety, other than education, of course, but school safety, mental health, full-day kindergarten. That's it. That's where we spend the majority of our time talking. Safety, mental health, full-day kindergarten. So nobody's wavering. We're going to get there. We have to figure out how to pay for it. We will. Again, I don't know if it's going to be $7,000. Somebody said, I think it was Kara, we will always offer a half-day program if it's tuition-based. We will always have a half-day free program. Not optimal. We're going to try and get there. We'll figure out the finances. We have a few other revenue things in the hopper that we're trying to churn out that hopefully will fall into place, a year and a half from now. So we're going to work on it. I do want to answer Mr. Heap on the questions being clarified. Bill, on the website, there's a newsletter that went out, and it goes, it went out to all the parents, it went out to various publications, but just to be clear, we actually say that the construction of the vestibules would be a 1.23 increase in the tax levy, a permanent increase to the tax levy. And for the paraprofessionals, it's a 1.3 permanent increase to the tax levy. So we'll ensure that the wording is very clear, permanent increase to the tax levy. The paraprofessional ones is easy because that's ongoing expense. But your point is well taken, to ensure that the money for the security goes to security 10 years from now when the rest of us are sitting on a beach somewhere, to ensure that money just doesn't get absorbed. So we're going to have to take that back and figure out, that's going to be a great problem to have, right? If these both pass, we'll get back to you on how we're going to codify that to make sure that the money is spent on security items. There was a question about, did you explicitly ask about full-day kindergarten to the voters? No, but we did ask. The only way at the time, we needed more classrooms. So we explicitly said, would you pass additional classrooms? We needed them at Milton Avenue at the time. And it was voted down. So we couldn't ask at the time, will you pay for full-day kindergarten? Because we didn't have the space to put the kids. Now we have the space. If we went out, I don't think it would pass, honestly, because there's such a small percentage of people that are impacted. Those that are not in school yet aren't paying attention. Those that don't have kids are like, you know what, I'm not going to pass that. But in spite of that, we're still committed to moving in that direction. So we can ask it, but if it fails, it puts the school board in a bit of a bind in that if an item fails, you cannot implement it that school year. You have to wait a full year before you can implement it again. You can't just say, oh gosh, the voters voted it down. Let me take $2 million out of our operating budget and pay for it anyway. That's prohibited. So you have to be careful when you ask explicit questions. We just lived without the classrooms that year. We couldn't do it. We had to come up with a more creative way to do it, and we have. We've made progress each and every year, and we're getting there. 2025, hang in there. I just want to ask Mr. Ryan, did you have anything else you want to add on the finances of that? You've been working on it longer than I have on the finance front.
Yeah, every year we go through the same things, right? We look at the health insurance costs, salary increases, all of these things continue. So they're, from an educational institution, we want to provide the best experiences we can, but the school district's also a business, right? And it's a bad business. Capital improvements, special education funding, there's so many things that go into the budget that some of them are unfunded mandates that we have to do. So, we work every year to try to keep the tax levy down as low as we can. We haven't gone over 2% in 5 years. That's going to be changing, and it will change significantly if we, don't find another source of funding for all-day kindergarten.
Thanks, Mike.
I don't know if this is for Peter or anyone on the Finance Committee. Can you, I would like to see the dollars and cents of what it would cost to run a full-day kindergarten program, full day, no tuition. What would the dollars be? And let's put us in 2025 in terms of staffing, even the construction, if we need to do any type of refurbishment, classrooms, furniture, if we could just get like a rough number so we can really know what exactly we're dealing with. And I know you guys have talked about that, but I think from the board perspective, I think it would be helpful for all of us to hear that number so we can let it marinate and try to either problem solve or, to figure out where can we find the money or what do we need to do? Because I'm not a money person. I'm more of an education person, but I have an idea in my head, but I think I want to hear unpack the tuition.
Excellent, great, thanks, Michelle. Any other comments on anything that was said out there? No, we're good? All right, very good. Dr. LaSuso, you good? Did you have anything else you want to add?
I'm good.
You're good, very good. Okay, we do have an executive session. I think it'll be fairly quick, so if you could stick around, action will be taken. Action will be taken. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. We truly appreciate your time. It's invaluable. Thank you. Please drive safely. I don't know what happened at the power out there, so be careful.